this is okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. And someone say it.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer the respectful obeisance to the personality of Godhead divine, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author.
Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantas Loya Bhadrani Vidunoti Saritsatam.
Everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee cleanses the heart of the material enjoyment of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Very good. Nashprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
By rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Jai. All right. And just to assure that it gets done properly, let's chant the pranam mantras honoring the gurus. Seeking their blessings in approaching this sacred wisdom, especially hearing the revelations and commentary of Srila Prabhupada. But there's a whole lineage of acharyas that have passed this wisdom down. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Radhita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Moskite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnuvidaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Ormani Pracharine Nivishesha Shandivari Paschata Eshatahine. Jai. All right. Text 10, ready? Krishnam cha tat prabhavagya Asinam Jagadishwaram Hridistam Pujayamasa Maya Patta Vigraham Krishnam unto Lord Sri Krishna Cha also Tat of him Prabhavagya the knower of the glories Bhishma Asinam sitting Jagadishwaram the Lord of the universe Hridistam situated in the heart Pujayamasa worshipped Mayaya by internal potency Upata manifested Vigraham a form. Okay. Lord Sri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhishma Dev, and since Bhishma Dev knew of his glories, he worshipped him duly. So remember last time Bhishma was worshipping all the sages, welcoming them properly. Even on, can we get the Bhishma up here? Even on a bed of arrows, which is very uncomfortable. He did have the blessing to no longer feel pain in that situation, but still, a bed of arrows. But he's still welcoming all the sages, at least with sweet words. So if someone, remember we learned last time, if someone ever comes to your home, or your dwelling or place you're residing, you should always honor them with a seat, food and drink, and sweet words. These are like the three main things that's how you treat guests. And that's why we have programs here. We give them seats, food and drink, and then sweet words. That's the main thing. And so.
Michael, just try not to cut off the side if you move the picture. Like in the video, try not to cut off half of it.
Okay.
So, anyhow, yes, young men aren't very skilled in these type of things.
That's not true. It just depends on your nature.
Yes.
Some men
So,
are really artsy and like
so I'm not very artsy.
I know.
Musically, I have some artistic inclination, but not aesthetically. I know. Anyhow, so now Bhishma is welcoming Lord Krishna. And even though Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, he manifests his transcendental form by his internal energy and is able to be present and available to be seen by everybody. And so Bhishma knew this. Remember we talked about it yesterday in the Bhagavad Gita class, that the fools deride him and they think Krishna to be an ordinary man. But those in knowledge, they understand Krishna's position, and Bhishma was one of those people in knowledge. So purport. The Lord's omnipotency, or all-powerful nature, is displayed by his simultaneous presence in every place. He is present always in his eternal abode, Goloka Vrindavan, and still he is present in everyone's heart, and even within every invisible atom. When he manifests his eternal transcendental form in the material world, he does so by his internal potency. The external potency, or the material energy, has nothing to do with his eternal form. All these truths were known to Sri Bhishma Dev, who worshipped him accordingly. So this is also from Bhagavad Gita in the 7th chapter. We talks about the internal, the external energy, and then we talked a little bit about it yesterday as us, the living entities, are the tatastha, or the marginal energy. We're right on the edge of the internal and external energy. We're a superior energy to the external or the inferior energy. But because we are so infinitesimal, so unbelievably small, whatever energy we associate with, we take that nature. So right now we've been associating with, for many, many lifetimes, or time immemorial, the inferior or external energy of the Lord. But Krishna has nothing to do with that energy. His internal potency, or his inferior energy, or it's called the Swarup Shakti, he's completely transcendental, completely beyond. But he can still come in the midst of the inferior, or the material energy, external energy, and reveal his transcendental nature, which is what he does. When he performs pastimes and leelas in this material world, that's exactly what he's doing. So Bhishma knew this. So he's worshipping him accordingly. Text 11. Pandu putranupasinan prashraya prema sangatan abhyachashtanuragashrer andhibhutena chakshusha. Pandu, the late father of Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brothers. Putran, the sons of. Upasinan, sitting silently nearby. Prashraya, being overtaken. Prema, and feelings of love. Sangatan, having gathered. Abhyachashta, congratulated. Anuraga, feelingly. Ashray, by tears of ecstasy. Andhibhutena, overwhelmed. Chakshusha, with his eyes. The sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishma Dev congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection. Purport. When Maharaj Pandu died, his sons were all small children, and naturally they were brought up under the affection of elderly members of the royal family, specifically by Bhishma Dev. Later on, when the Pandavas were grown up, they were cheated by cunning Duryodhana and company. And Bhishma Dev, although he knew that the Pandavas were innocent and were unnecessarily put into trouble, could not take the side of the Pandavas for political reasons. This is the vow that Piyush has mentioned a few times, that Bhishma always vowed to support the king of Hastinapur. And unfortunately, when the king position fell into an unqualified hands, this is actually, this has to be known, if the leadership position falls into unqualified hands, the whole ship's going down. And that's what ended up happening. And then Bhishma was forced to support him due to his own vow, but he had to also usurp dharmic principles time to time to upkeep his vow. So he was unfortunately placed on the other side. It was all Leela. Bhishma never would have had any impetus to leave this world had not everything worked the way it did. His pastime of dying could only have happened this way. So only with Krishna's help, really, because he was such an immortal and powerful being that there's no way he's going to be defeated. But Krishna had to arrange some way that he could leave this material world and go on to the spiritual world. So this is how it's going to be. So anyhow, at the last stage of his life, Prabhupada continues, when Bhishma Dev saw his most exalted grandsons headed by Maharaj Yudhishthira sitting very gently at his side, the great warrior grandfather could not check his loving tears, which were automatically flowing from his eyes. He remembered the great tribulation suffered by his most pious grandsons. Certainly he was the most satisfied man because of Yudhishthira's being enthroned in place of Duryodhana, and thus he began to congratulate them. So this is the nature, Bhishma always wanted Yudhishthira on the throne, always wanted the most qualified, but just due to the circumstances, it's always going to change and fluctuate, and evil will always rise at some point. You'll never have everlasting peace in this world. That's just never the case. In the modern world, they have democracies, and the democracies, they vote every few years, and one side thinks one good side wins, and then the other thinks an evil side wins, and it's always fluctuating so rapidly. But even in monarchies where, always eventually the unqualified person will rise to power because they seek power. That's what they seek. Unfortunately, power is one of the material attractions. And so eventually, Duryodhana, look what he had done throughout the whole Mahabharata. Just so many, one thing after another to try and seize power and seize his sense gratification. And ultimately, who did he get cheated by at the end? No. Well, Bhima cheated him, but how did Bhima learn how to cheat? Krishna. That's where we're all, if we sit here and we want to do things the unqualified way or the adharmic way, at the end we get cheated by Krishna. Because he has a special, it looks like the success is right over the hill. I just got to do this thing. And it looks like we can see it, we can touch it, we can almost taste it. Or maybe we do taste it for some time, but at the end, Krishna will always cheat us if we take it without authority or sanction, without proper circumstance. So this is Duryodhana, and now Duryodhana is lying dead, and it went back to the pious, it went back to Yudhisthira. So Bhishma was congratulating them. He's very happy to see this. Even though he chose the side of Duryodhana, it was only for his vow, and it had nothing to do with feeling somehow they were more qualified. So anyhow, certainly he was the most satisfied man. I read that. Next verse. Aho kashtam aho nyayam yad yuyam dharma nandanaha jivitum narhatha klishtam vipra dharma chutashrayaha. Aho! Oh! Kashtam! What terrible sufferings! Aho! Oh! Anyayam! What terrible injustice! Yet, because you all of you good souls, Dharmanandanaha, sons of religion personified, Jivitum, to remain alive, Na, never, Arhatha, deserve, Klishtam, suffering, Vipra, Brahmanas, Dharma, piety, Achyuta, God, Ashrayaha, being protected by. Translation. Bhishmadev said, "Oh, what terrible sufferings and what terrible injustices you good souls suffer for being the sons of religion personified. You did not deserve to remain alive under those tribulations, yet you were protected by the Brahmanas, God and religion." So, and the word for God give is Achyuta, or the infallible one. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthir was disturbed due to the great massacre in the battle of Kurukshetra. Bhishmadev could understand this, and therefore he spoke first of the terrible sufferings of Maharaj Yudhishthir. He was put into difficulty by injustice only, and the battle of Kurukshetra was fought just to counteract this injustice. Therefore, he should not regret the great massacre. He wanted to point out, particularly, that they were always protected by the Brahmins, the Lord, and religious principles. As long as they were protected by these three important items, there was no cause of disappointment. We can also learn from this. If we should look at our actions, we should look at our path. Will the Brahmins support us? Will the Lord support us? And will the Dharma Shastras, will the religious principles support us? Then go ahead. If none of or one even doesn't want to support that activity, better not do. So anyhow, like this. Easier said than done, though, in my life. As long as they were protected by these three important items, there was no cause of disappointment. Thus, Bhishmadev encouraged Maharaj Yudhishthira to dissipate his despondency, to get rid of his depression, his lamentation. As long as a person is fully in cooperation with the wishes of the Lord, guided by the bona fide Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and strictly following religious principles, one has no cause for despondency, no cause for depression or low spirits. However, trying the circumstances of life, however trying, like how difficult the circumstances of life are. Bhishmadev, as one of the authorities in the line, wanted to impress this point upon the Pandavas. Now look at Bhishmadev. He's lying on a bed of arrows. He's got like hundreds of arrows through his body, and he's just sitting there like suspended on those arrows. This was done by Arjuna, but ultimately due to Bhishma's wish. So anyway, nice sweet pastime. Let's continue on. Text 13. Samstite tirathe pando.
Samstite trirate pando.
Prithabala prajabadhu.
Prabala prajabadu.
Yushmat krite bahun kleshan.
Yushmat krite bahun kileshan.
Prapta tokavati muhu.
Praptato karadimuhu.
Try. Actually, hello. Come on down. So, actually, it's interesting enough. Today is Makara Sankranti.
Today?
Yes, today.
Tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
14th?
that's in India. But here in the USA, the astrology is today is Makara, at least in Syracuse, today is Makara Sankranti. So, interestingly enough, I think that's the day that Bhishma left. So,
Today is Lori, I guess, Prabhu.
what?
Today is Lori, tomorrow is Makar Sankranti.
That's
Yeah,
India.
It says on Gaudiya app, it says today, but maybe it just has to do with the sunrise. Maybe it happens at moonrise. I don't know. Sun in the Dhanush Rashi, and then tomorrow sun in the Makara Rashi.
Then
No, I
tomorrow
don't know.
is the garden.
I don't know if it starts on the Purnima. Is it on the
So
Purnima?
today is they celebrate another thing called as Lori. Exactly.
So because if it's in India tomorrow, then we are earlier than India. So it should be like later than India. Then it should be tomorrow for
Well,
us.
it depends on the tithi, not the time zone. I'm not sure. But I thought on the Purnima starts the new month, but I'm not exactly sure. I know at the end of Kartik, on the Purnima, the Kartik will end and it starts the new month.
Today they burn something
Yeah.
at night and tomorrow is something.
Yeah.
Lodi is a Punjabi thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's
Is it?
Red. Yeah.
Okay.
Lodi is-
Yeah. Well, regardless, maybe it'll be today, maybe it'll be tomorrow. But I think that's the day that Bhishma left. He was waiting for the Makara
I guess it's a
Sankranti.
positive day, so it might
Yeah,
be today.
yeah. So that day is the day that Bhishma left, and he was waiting specifically to leave on that day. Why? Is it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that when one should try and leave this world when the sun is traveling north in the sky, meaning the days are getting longer. And that means that the path of light is revealed. So when one leaves the body, it's better to leave during that time. Now, that's not always been the case. It's not like every great personality. But Bhishma, knowing this, he was waiting specifically for that day. And so, interestingly enough, now they've all gone to Bhishma. And then he will, I think, leave. It'll be either today or tomorrow. But it's one of these days is Makara Sankranti. So anyhow, I just thought of that. But yeah, this pastime is happening around this time. So anyhow, what did we read? We did the Sanskrit of 13?
Sanskrit.
Okay. Samstite, after the demise, Atirathe, of the great general, Pando, Pandu, Pritha, Kunti, Balapraja, having young children, Vadhu, my daughter-in-law, Yushmat Krite, on your account, Bahun, multifarious, Kleshan, afflictions, Prapta, underwent, Tokavati, in spite of having grown-up boys, Muhu, constantly. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great general Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions. The sufferings of Kunti Devi are doubly lamented. She suffered greatly because of her early widowhood, and to get her minor children brought up in the royal family. And when her children were grown up, she continued to suffer because of her son's actions. So her sufferings continued. This means that she was destined to suffer by providence, and this one has to tolerate without being disturbed. Kunti was a great devotee. She was the aunt of Krishna. She was the queen of the world at one point, but by destiny, she was to suffer in this life. She lost Pandu, and then that gave rise to Pandu's brother Dhritarashtra temporarily having the throne. So as a widow, it said when a woman loses her husband, it's like the end of the world in so many ways. Not so much if they have a son. Traditionally, if they had a son, they would stay alive and live for the benefit of her son or sons, like Kunti did. But if they if they didn't, they often would leave with their husband. And so they would jump on the funeral pyre. So anyway, they were remarking how badly Kunti was already suffered in this life. And then, due to the Pandavas being very pious and sparking the jealousy of their cousins, Duryodhana, and their uncle, Dhritarashtra, Kunti she was probably the most heavily suffering person throughout the whole. Yes.
She even wanted actually to jump on the fire.
Yes.
But
Madri.
Madri got to, so she had to stay with the
Yes.
children.
Madri wanted to jump on the pyre because it was due to her that Pandu's curse of dying due to lust had to be fulfilled. Do you know this pastime?
Yeah, because he was cursed by a sage that if he is attracted to a woman again, then he will be. He will
Yeah, he
yes.
killed a deer
Yeah.
while it was mating,
Yeah.
and that deer ended up being two sages taking the body of deer to do that activity.
Yeah.
Why, I'm not exactly sure, but they did. And anyhow, Pandu was cursed to also die while doing that activity. So he became a celibate monk for many years. But then at just one day, the way Madri's dress fell upon her, the destiny had arranged that the flowers were blooming in such a way and everything was perfect. The fragrances, all the senses were engaged in such a way that he lost control of his senses and he embraced Madri. And even though she was simultaneously attracted but knew that he should not do this, this whole thing happened, and then Pandu dropped dead. And next thing you know, Kunti and Madri are left with the 5 Pandavas, and they say, what do we do? And so Kunti wanted to jump on the fire, but Madri convinced her that due to me, he died. You should let me go with him. He was trying to embrace me, so let me go and embrace him wherever I go next. So that was the pastime, and then Kunti had to suffer. And
So she went in the fire?
yes, she died in the fire,
She was
Madri.
the
Madri
youngest.
was the mother of
The younger.
Sahadev and Nakula, the 3 youngest Pandavas. So, and they're the sons of the Ashwini Kumars, which is another pastime. But anyhow, yes. So anyway, these are, but Kunti suffered immensely. But one has to tolerate. What is this famous verse in Bhagavad Gita? Matra sparshas tu kaunteya, shitoshna sukha dukada, agama payano nityas, tam stitikshashva bharata. That due to the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course, they come like the winter and the summer seasons, like heat and cold. And we must, and they arise from sense perception. You know, all of these things, happiness, distress, hot, cold, it's all due to the way our senses are engaged with the world. And we must learn to tolerate them, because that's what's going to happen. It's always going to go up and down. Right now we got winter, it'll be summer, it'll be hot. You know, it's always going to go up and down. Your senses, your body and its senses will never be fully comfortable here. You'll never just arrange it just in the right way. I got it figured out. No, you just have to learn to tolerate that this world means suffering. So anyhow, Kunti, she did this and was an expert tolerator. So we'll see how we do. Text 14, probably last verse. Sarvam kalakritam manye
Sarvam kalakritam manye.
Bhavatam cha yada priyam
Bhavatam cha yada priyam.
Sapalo yad vashe loko
Sapalo yad vashe loko.
Vayoriva ganavali
Vayoriva ganavali.
Sarvam,
Sarvam.
all this. Kalakritam,
Kalakritam.
done by inevitable time.
Done by inevitable
Manye,
time. Manye.
I think.
I think.
Bhavatam cha, for you also.
For you also.
Yat,
Yat,
whatever.
whatever.
Apriyam,
Apriyam.
detestable.
Detestable.
Sapalaha, with the rulers. Yat bashe, under the control of that time. Loka, everyone in every planet. Vayo, the wind carries. Eva, as. Gana avali, a line of clouds. Bhishma says, in my opinion, this is all due to inevitable time. under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. Prabhupada will mention, there is control by time all over the space within the universe, as there is control by time all over the planets. All the big gigantic planets, including the sun, are being controlled by the force of air, as the clouds are carried by the force of air. Similarly, the inevitable kala or time controls even the action of the air and other elements. Everything, therefore, is controlled by the supreme kala, a forceful representative of the Lord within the material world. Thus, Yudhisthira should not be sorry for the inconceivable action of time. Everyone has to bear the actions and reactions of time as long as one is within the conditions of the material world. Yudhisthira should not think that he had committed sins in his previous birth and is suffering the consequence. Even the most pious has to suffer the condition of material nature. But a pious man is faithful to the Lord, for he is guided by the bona fide Brahmin and Vaishnava, following the religious principles. These three guiding principles should be the aim of life. What are the three guiding principles? Tanmay, speak louder.
One should not be disturbed by the tricks of eternal time. Even the great controller of the universe, Brahmaji, is also under the controller of that time. Therefore, one should not judge.
No, I was asking you a question. What are the three guiding principles?
I thought he's saying ahead. They follow what the Brahmans say, Vaishnavas say, and
Brahmacharya, sadhu sangha, and reading of the scriptures.
Well, close. It's the Brahmins with what the Dharma, the Shastras,
principles.
and the Brahmins and the Gurus are coupled, So and then ultimately the Lord Himself. These are the three guiding principles.
Hari, Guru, Vaishnava.
Yes, Hari, Guru, Vaishnava. So, but also Shastra. So, Guru and Vaishnava are coupled as one. So next thing. One should not be disturbed by the tricks of eternal time. Even the great controller of the universe, Brahmaji, is also under the control of that time. Therefore, one should not grudge being thus controlled by time, despite being a true follower of religious principles. There's a pastime in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna reveals his universal form. And this is a very famous verse. You've heard of this Robert Oppenheimer? The guy who blew up he made the first...
I become death, the destroyer.
Yes, he quoted that, but he actually misquoted the verse because he's not an expert in Bhagavad Gita. But the verse actually is, he says, time I am. Krishna said, Arjuna is frightened. Who are you? I'm looking at so many faces, arms, everything. Who are you? And he says, time I am, the destroyer of all people. And aside from you, the Pandavas, I've come to destroy everyone on this battlefield. And actually, this is ultimately one of Krishna's, we mentioned it yesterday, the 5 subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita. One of the 5 is Kala, time. And it's going to take you down. Everything that you built up about who you are is going to be destroyed by Krishna in this form as Kala. So, we see even Bhishma, who's so pious, so dharmic for countless amounts of years, so many years, he's like an ancient personality. But even he, time came for him. Time will come for everyone. You'll never be able to avoid it. Time is coming for you. And everything that you try and take, you grab, time will come for that thing as well. So we have to be wise to time. We have to always understand that nothing in this world is temporary. We're looking for not temporary. We're looking for permanent happiness. Naturally, we want a situation where we can always be happy. That's why we have to look beyond this world, because it's not here. This world doesn't give the place where you're always happy. You do have a process where you can always be happy, and that's what we're trying to show.
We can serve here and be happy.
What's that?
We can serve here and be happy.
You can serve here until what?
Now, at least till
Yes,
now
yes.
we are
But what
just-
happens when Krishna, your time runs out here?
We'll go where he wants us to
Yeah,
go.
I know. But it'll be easier said than done.
But now if we're here, that means we have to serve here.
Mm.
Otherwise we wouldn't be here. We would
Yes,
be
yes.
already-
Of course. But like for instance, Rishi was serving here. He was like you guys, looking for job, And he was going, and actually Rishi was very happy here. And then Rishi, he got his job, and then time took him.
No,
You know.
serve in this
Yes.
planet. I'm saying.
Oh yes. I know what you're saying. So, but it's the same principle. Then time took him and moved him forward. So similarly, you can serve in this body in this world right now, like this, and then time will take you. But if you don't latch on to the process where you can eternally be happy, which is bhakti, then time will sweep you to the next place that you'll inevitably suffer. That's the nature of this world. It's suffering. And time, even the most pious, like Yudhisthira and the Pandavas, so pious, so dharmic, so much suffering. But they're just expert at tolerating the suffering. That's the difference. Everyone suffers here. The pious suffer, the impious suffer. Look at, what are these guys? Two guys just rose to power in the U.S., like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Big billionaires, have so much money, so much sense gratification. But look at how, so many people are criticizing them and hate them, and, they'll slander them, try and get the court systems up against them, anything that they can do, and they have to suffer and suffer and suffer. It doesn't matter what type of position you rise to. Your result here is suffering. That's the material world. The wise know this, and they can appreciate, okay, I have to learn to tolerate this thing. It's inevitable. It's coming. Either you learn to tolerate suffering, or you just be a crybaby throughout the whole of material existence. That's your two options. So learn to tolerate. That's what it is. It's just suffering after the next, and time will always fluctuate. Just like winter has come, it's time of suffering. And then spring will come. Ooh, it's nice. It's getting warm. Ooh, it's a nice day. I can go walk and this, that. And then summer will come. More suffering. And then, it's so hot. I can't even go outside anymore. And then fall will come. Ooh, it seems like it's good. And then boom, winter again. And that's just climate. There's so many ups and downs, and it will not stop. It will not stop. You choose the path out of this, where you can have a position of eternal happiness, and that is in the path of bhakti, even both in this world and the next world, or you must be controlled by time and suffer with time, because that's what time ultimately does. It destroys. It creates, it maintains, and then it destroys, like this. So anyhow, I hope you have a wonderful time today. And yes, and yes, good luck with it.
But it's stated in Makar Sankranti we should eat curd rice. But today is not Makar Sankranti. It's tomorrow.
Is it officially tomorrow?
Because on the ISKCON, it's also saying tomorrow.
In New York, they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, then I trust them. They have their
We must
astrologers.
stick to that.
So.
But I have seen it's tomorrow.
No, that's good. That's good enough for me.
In India, is a tradition that on Makar Sankranti you should eat curd rice.
Yes, we will.
Making that tomorrow. I'm just kidding.
I'll have my wife make some curd quinoa or something tomorrow. So anyhow, I haven't been eating rice, but this is very nice. All right, you guys have a great day. What?
He's asking, do we have to make so? I'm like, Prabhu will say no.
You guys tell me.
Because there's a lot of metaphors.
So you better be bowing to the deities, Michael, because it's an offense to bow to anyone else in front of the deities. So anyhow.